health and a little wealth and a lot of love.
Our next segment is Mind and Money Matters.
Mind and Money Matters. In this segment, we'll be exploring psychological aspects
of financial and health choices.
So tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So it's good before we jump into this episode of Financially Ever After how the psychology of money works. So there is a major play in gender differences. So genders have a different perception of money. A lot of men,
and that's a generalization, but yeah.
It is a generalization, but 9 times out of 10, based upon the research, and by the way, guys, y'all fact check me. I don't want to put everyone into a blanket statement. There are some absolutely very financial, successful women and men, and they have different psychologies around this. But I'll be honest, our target audience, the average male, is the shepherd of their household when it comes to finances and money. The average female is the shepherd of health in their family. They make the health decisions. And to be inclusive, same-sex marriages, as well as other, LGBTQ plus whatever, we are very inclusive here because we believe quality information of health and wealth should be out there for everyone. We do. And so some gender differences is most men will participate in very high risk trading involving the stock market, equities, things of that nature. Most women, though, however, it's just fascinating, are very specific on budgeting and saving. I will say this, you could not save yourself to wealth. You could probably 50, 60, 100 years ago. You could save yourself to wealth. Why do you think you can't save yourself to wealth anymore?
There are a lot of differences now. There's high interest rates, the way that the economy
You're getting
is,
warm.
The inflation.
Bam! I was looking for one word. It's inflation. It's inflation. The value of the dollar has just eroded over time, where it was backed by gold. Now inflation has absolutely drove the value of the dollar. Mm-hmm. And, it took 2 incomes to live middle class, and this new evolution of the silent depression, they're calling it, it's going to require to think differently and to think more smart. So I think you guys listen to us, follow us, because we want to offer you strategies in ways that you can get ahead and you can think differently from most people so you can save to your financial independence. And so we talked about the gender. So the impact of money on relationship quality. So when couples argue about money, what do you do? How do you resolve that? That's a very difficult conversation. Yes, you can go to a therapist, but at the end of the day, the therapist is there, I think, more for emotional needs. For financial disagreements, I think you could actually avoid those. Here's how. Or not avoid them, but be more proactive. So I'm a big believer of sitting down with your spouse, your significant other, your partner, and walking through all your financial goals. Mm-hmm. A lot of people, like I don't know the stats on this, and I should, but a lot of people don't have budgets. They don't understand their net worth. We do our net worth every single year. Every single year, right in January, right before taxes are due, we do our net worth, so we know where we're headed.
Yeah, and I think that's something to consider with when you talk about the psychology of finances or money. You have 2 people in a relationship who come theoretically from completely different backgrounds, which was the case for us. Everybody has a different idea of how to spend, how to save. Both people have a different knowledge base when it comes to finances. And so I think transparency, like you were saying, is key. You've got to be open to talk about it. You have to be able to sit down and be very open about some of those decisions.
Yeah. And so what I'm saying about this one in particular, when financial decisions, I think that couples should meet at their own tempo, whether it's weekly or monthly, whatever. Me and Emily do this quite a bit, actually. I'm a spreadsheet guy. Not everyone is. And so I'll drop our expenses and I'll drop down and I'll tag them. I said, this is what we're spending on DoorDash. This is what we're spending on Amazon. This is what we're spending. In newsflash, guys, we spent $1,600 in Amazon last month. We spent $1,600 in
You've
DoorDash.
really got to keep a pulse check on.
You do.
You have to be aware of what you're spending.
You do. And right now, as many people are listening or following, Emily is pursuing a higher power. I see it, and which requires her to study and get more certifications to pursue her interests. This is one of the things that we're doing right in our spare time, and it's not very lucrative right now. And Emily is pursuing like locum positions and things like that, but we're on one income right now, and it is a struggle. But I believe in her. I believe in her vision. I believe in what she's trying to do, and I believe in her happiness.
You got to be aligned on that.
You do.
You really have to both believe that that's the course that you're taking.
It is. And let me tell you this, guys. We've been working. We get up in the morning, we work our normal jobs, and we work until 8, 9, 10 o'clock. It's 9 o'clock now, but this is date night for us. This is very fun for us. I will say the devil loves to enter your thoughts, the war of the mind, and he loves to tell me that she's not good enough, and meaning that she's just going to drain you financially. She's not doing this. She's not doing that.
Trying to take advantage.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And it's so hard to quiet that. And if her and I are so aligned in our mission and what we're trying to do, it's a very sexy thing.
And a lot of that too comes from past trauma, past experiences.
That's true.
It's another reason why you've got to be very transparent and open about how you feel about finances.
I agree.
And spending money and saving money and
yeah. And I think that the 6 things that we're going to talk about, this is the foundation of this. We got to make sure that we got to make sure we hit on these topics before we get into the meat of the episode. So we talk about gender differences. We talk about the impact of money on relationship quality. So financial decision making. So who makes these decisions in your relationship? I'm a strong believer that people, couples, individuals should play to their strengths. Mm-hmm. And I work for a bank. I work in every aspect of the financial services industry. I know finances like the back of my hand, personal finance, things of that nature. And I think that I'm a big fan of roles and responsibilities in a relationship. I think that you should define what makes sense for you. I'm not saying traditional roles, so don't send me hate mail, but there's some things that I'm really, really good at. And financial management is one of those things. Emily has an acute attention to detail. She's very, very good at that. Obviously, she is the shepherd of our health. She makes sure that the quality of meals that are going into our bodies is very, very healthy. I rely on her on that. She relies on me from a financial standpoint. And some couples may have joint accounts and some may have separate. That individual decision is yours to make and yours to make alone. For example, my parents have separate accounts. I think it's funny because they'll sit there and talk. I put this on my credit card and I did this. And if you guys are listening, God love you. But it's hilarious to me because y'all have been married for so damn long that at the end of the day, it is all your money.
But
it's
sometimes
funny, but
it works for some people.
You know what? It does work for them.
It shows that everybody has a different way. And there's not one single way that's the best way. But I think you speak to these are the things that you should set up.
Right.
And it's a kind of a universal way for all of these different ways to manage finances.
Yeah.
So this is applicable to a lot of different people.
Yeah. And I will say this, and I'm not throwing shade, I'm not throwing grenades here. Obviously you guys know I've been married before. We talked about that a little bit. And in that relationship, our financials were separate. Emily, however, our financials are together. And that is just demonstrating so much trust I trust my wife. Like I cannot like I just can't explain the level of trust that I feel for her. Like genuinely. She is such a good person, and I feel like she would never take advantage of me financially. I've never ever felt more safe in my entire life than with her. And I really, really mean that. So, I feel like I'm getting a little emotional right now. But no, I'm serious. Like I think that, and a lot of that I give credit to her parents and her family and her upbringing. And I really do trust her. I think that she's just an incredible person. She, first of all, if you're not watching on YouTube, look at this. This is gorgeous. She's wearing the I Dream of Jeannie, what is it, ponytail. She's absolutely gorgeous. She's stunning. And she's just, she's my ride or die. I fall in love with her more and more every single day. And I think just watching her just grow outside of her comfort zone and just being surprised. If your spouse can surprise you guys, like that to me is so powerful. So I know that's off topic a little bit, but I really do want to give you a shout on that.
Well, thank you, sweetie.
So there is a socio-psychological aspect of money. This hits home for me. I don't know about you guys, but this hits home for me, and let me tell you why. What does this mean? This means your financial well-being, your DNA is driven by your financial success and your self-esteem and confidence. So some couples have different dynamics within their relationship. And we talked about this in my first few episodes. I come from very humble beginnings. I watched my family struggle. We were homeless sometimes. My mom did not have a place to go. And my Aunt Janice, who is actually her best friend, who's no longer with us, we stayed with her. And I was just so thankful to have that. And it was just hard. And you don't realize how hard that was until you look back. Because as a kid, you just look at the day to day, and it was an adventure. You didn't know what you didn't have until you have it. And my parents really are the American dream. They worked really hard. My mom went back to school. My dad and my stepmom, they married and crushed the sales game. Mm-hmm. I'm just really, really proud of them. And so the socio-physiological aspects of money, getting back to that, is I feel like I will never, ever have enough money in the bank. And it's not about money, I know. It's the resources. It's having the emergency fund, making sure that I have the confidence and self-esteem to make decisions unapologetically. Like this podcast, investing in our education, your education, and other things. It gives me confidence.
Well, I think it also speaks to knowing your spouse's or your partner's background, because obviously your background really impacted the way that you look at money or the way that you look at security.
It'll never be enough.
It's this mentality, the fight or flight mentality, where you didn't have a lot of the needs whenever you were younger. And so I think that's a lot of what drives you today, is that you want to be able to support your family. You don't want to be back in that position that you were, where you can't get those basic needs.
Right.
And you might have a spouse. I was very blessed growing up. I had two parents that came from nothing, that taught me the value of $1, but I also wanted for nothing. And it definitely gives you a different perspective. And so I'm definitely more of a enjoy the journey, and I might not necessarily appreciate as much as you do, because you know what it felt like to be without. And so I think you talk about the psychology of money and finances. Mm-hmm. It's important to know your partner's background and to know where they're coming from and why this drives their financial decisions, or why they are so passionate about certain things, or why they have trust issues, or why they want to have separate accounts or separate finances. So I think that's important too.
Yeah, you got to give your partner grace. And I think a lot of the conflicts that we have in our relationship as it relates to money and this is probably real to couples, and I'm going to say something that's probably going to set you off, but just bear with me. I think that you never understood what it felt like to go without. And so when I feel like you take your time with your decisions, especially when it relates to our financial well-being, it really tears me up inside. It really does. And so I'll give you some examples. And I think this is real. I think we should talk about it. As long as you don't storm off like last time, I think we're in a good place. But, when we decided that you were going to work part-time because of your horrible situation, the way that your office treated you, and then it got worse, and they didn't pay you in October, when she was a primary care physician, they didn't pay her because they overpaid her a few months, which that's another story for another day, which we don't believe that's what happened, but that's okay. We're going to move on. And no communication, no nothing. Emily was working part-time, but really working 40 to 50 hours a week, making so much less than what she was worth. And it was a struggle. She still had, depression and all. It was terrible, guys. It was terrible. I never want to see someone you love go through something like that. It's hard because you're chained to your student loans and all that. And as you work part-time, and if that was me, my situation would be I would have found another job immediately as soon as the time clock exited. And in my situation, that's where like my rub is, because 4 weeks later, yes, I know and Emily is working, y'all. Emily's working from early morning to late at night. We have pivoted our journey, and she is working like that. She's working really hard, and God's going to provide. We believe it. And that has been a challenge for me to exercise patience in that situation when I would have done things differently.
And it's all about perception too, I think.
It is perception.
I mean, obviously, like many other couples, we argue about finances,
We do.
even though we are blessed to not be in a situation where we can't put food on the table or we can't pay our bills right now. So it hits close to home, and the way that we differ, I guess, whenever we think about things, and it comes kind of back to those gender roles, is that a lot of times women are by default expected to take care of the household and expected to cook the meals and to clean the house and to take care of the babies, whether that's fur babies or real babies. But, I definitely take on those roles as a part of our household.
You do.
And it's just a hard situation to be in, especially when you're used to being such a high earner.
Yeah.
And
I can imagine, I didn't even think about that. So the psychology around money for this, Mind and Money Matters for you, is you went from a very strong salary to cut it in half, less than half.
but working more, making less than half, but working more than half. Yeah.
And then going to zero. So I never thought about that.
With a little health and a little wealth and a lot of love, that's the life that we live. Suits and scrubs.